Welcome to the PowerCat Podcast, the original K-State sports show. Now, let's go to Kansas City, home of the GPC recruiting lab. Here's your host, Ryan Wallace.
Back for another episode of the GoPowercat Recruiting Podcast. And we're going ultra neutral here. It's a GoPowercat podcast. Obviously, we will discuss the Kansas State Wildcats today, but also lots of other things to talk about. 3 other schools in the mix and a new 5-star recruit joining us here tonight, Linkon Cure out in Goodland. Thanks for taking some time with us tonight, Linkon.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
So, a lot has changed, right? I think the first time that I was kind of officially introduced to you was almost a year ago to the date. And you were in Salina at the Sharp Top Prospect event. And, I'm wondering, when you were out there a year ago, did you ever have any idea that this was about to jumpstart? That was going to be the day that kind of, in a way, started it all? Because I know you have goals and everything like that, but did you expect it to get to this level where you're sitting here today, newly crowned 5-star?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a goal for me, but I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I expected it. I probably didn't expect, what I got now. I mean, I definitely worked for it. Worked every day. I had that goal, but just extremely blessed to be here. It's a dream come true. I mean, it's absolutely amazing, just the position I'm in now.
Yeah, I know. When I shared the tweet, Tom Loy shared some tweets when the rankings got revealed earlier this morning. Did you have any idea that it was coming, or did you just have the phone start to vibrate like crazy and figure out, well, something must have happened?
Yeah, so I got back from a haircut. So I got back from a haircut. I went to my bed, just hanging out, and I got a text from Coach Ellsworth down at Texas A&M.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Congrats on the 5-star on 24/7." I'm like, what? I'm kind of shell shocked. So I opened up my phone and I'm like, oh gosh, I went upstairs first before I did it. I was like, Mom, Coach Ellsworth saying I'm a 5-star, and she's like, there's no way. So I just opened it up. We saw I was a 5-star, and then it was just freaking out from there.
Going back to what I mentioned earlier about, you being in Salina a year ago, kind of being off the radar. There were some folks that I have connections with right out in Western Kansas, John Bates, shout out to Kansas pregame, and obviously Jake Sharp, that they kind of knew a little bit about you, right? But what words of advice do you, Linkon Cure, now, as we sit here tonight, have to say? What would you tell Linkon back then in terms of what's in store?
I just would have told him that, keep the motivation, keep the drive, just keep working hard and just trust the process, because it's going to work out, stay good in your faith, everything's going to work out. Just trust the process.
Has anything changed, in terms of how you approach recruiting now versus when everything kind of got started, I guess, with K-State, that first offer at their camp? Has anything changed in maybe, okay, you kind of had a vision of maybe how you were going to go into recruiting. Did anything change along the way? Or would you say, looking back at, as you're coming up to the finish line here, do you feel like nothing has really changed in terms of this is how you wanted to do it and this is how you did it? Or did you have to alter some of your approach?
I'd say a lot of things changed after I got that offer from K-State. I was just so I was in just such a rush. I was so excited. I'm like, my mom and dad are talking about, maybe we just should commit early, build a class, something like that. They're like, have we even discussed money, anything like that? Because we weren't even sure if it's like a full scholarship, anything like that. But, I was just kind of in a rush. I'm just really excited. But, I still kind of had that vision. I knew what I wanted. I knew, after a conversation with Coach Klein, that he kind of told me what I should look for, which was really, really good advice. I still keep that to this day. It's about that feeling. It's, it's going to be right. So I always keep that in mind.
How close were you to just going ahead and saying, I'm pulling the trigger right now after K-State offered at that camp? Because I know that was obviously kind of a dream in-state offer. You and Coach Klein had built a relationship that was pretty strong. Obviously, Coach Lepak as well. Were there conversations there last summer of I'll just hang it up and get this thing done with?
Yeah, there were definitely those conversations, but as competitive as I am, I was the one that kind of shut it down. I was like, no, I kind of want to go be I want to go be a 3-star, then I want to go be a 4-star, then I want to go to be a 5-star. I want to be as good as I can be. I want to be the best athlete I can possibly be. So yeah, there was definitely those conversations, but I put it down a little bit. I was like, this is just the start. So let's keep going with it.
What would you say has been the best part about being a nationally recognized recruit? Not just, when you're out and about in Goodland, but now when you're out, on the 7-on-7 scene nationally with California Power. I mean, what would you say has been kind of the best part about being recognized?
Yeah, definitely the opportunities it's blessed me with, like, going on visits, seeing places I've never seen, like it's always awesome when we go to Oregon because we fly into Portland and, we get to make that drive. It's always a really pretty drive. So that's always fun. Yeah, but just, exploring the country, getting to go to a Penn State wideout game. I mean, everything was a blessing. I was just really blessed with the opportunities, especially with 7-on-7, getting to meet some other guys like me, some guys with the same drive, the same goals. It's always good when you're around people with a common goal. So I'm really blessed. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Okay. Well, what's the worst part about being a nationally recognized recruit?
It can definitely get stressful sometimes, more than I'd like. But yeah, I always remind myself that people would love to have my position. So I stay humble. I do all the right things. It's just, yeah, it's been a blessing, but I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say it's all perfect life, because it's definitely gets stressful sometimes.
Give fans and listeners an idea of, like, obviously now that you've kind of trimmed things down, I'm sure, I would imagine things have maybe lightened up, but they're kind of in the heart of things. Say, beginning of the year here, what was like a daily occurrence like in terms of your cell phone, whether it be phone calls or text messages?
To a point, it'd get to like about probably 100 unread text messages, and that was just unread. So I'd probably have more even throughout the day just answering those. But that was probably the worst point, was when it was like 100 text messages a day. Maybe, I think one day I had 9 calls in one day. Like I was definitely overwhelmed a little bit. And I think the next day after that, like I think I told some coaches, like, I'm just going to take a break. Like
Yeah.
I need to do some homework. Like I need to, focus on some other things. So, but, I mean, I definitely handled my schedule well. Like I knew going into it, I'm just not going to, just call some coaches, answer him, answer that, let some guys off. I definitely scheduled it. I thought the whole process through. I was like, I have practice here. This is when practice ends. Don't call me around this time. I'm going to be free.
Sure.
Call me then. I had a good schedule, so it worked out.
Sure. Yeah. I'm always curious to hear about how guys in your situation choose to manage and navigate it. Right. Because I mean, I've heard of, top 247 guys that aren't even as highly rated as you, that feel compelled to, even if it's just like a thumbs up, acknowledge every single text message. And it sounds like sometimes you kind of have to get a little bit business minded with it. And yeah, here's my schedule. Here's who I'm going to talk to. And I'm sorry, but it just gets overwhelming if you try and acknowledge everybody. Right.
Yeah. And I found that out the hard way, because I was one of those guys that had to answer everybody back. So I was, even a thumbs up, yes, sir, thank you, just even the little stuff. I just had to, I appreciated everything. So I made sure that, they feel appreciated as much as me. So, I answered everybody, but I did learn the hard way. So I definitely, figured things out after that.
How comfortable would you say you are with where your recruitment is, kind of heading into next weekend? That's when these official visits for your 4 finalists really get underway. And it's kind of that, again, kind of like I was saying, the start of the finish line in a way. But are you kind of at complete ease with how you got here, and obviously where you have left to go in terms of these 4 schools?
Yeah, I say I'm comfortable, but I bet when it comes down to the deciding week, it's going to be a lot harder than I think. But yeah, just I'm at the point where I'm going to take these OVs, and then I'd like to make a decision before my senior year. That's the goal. Hopefully that works out. That could lead into the school year a little bit, but that's the goal. So hopefully I can just get that done and then devote my whole senior year to, just learning the playbook, just becoming a better football player, because I'm probably going to be a guy that comes in June, just because, it's a small community. I love to give back to my community, and it definitely is really important to me to have that basketball season and that track season. I mean, you came to the state basketball tournament, semifinal game, and then I wish you would have came to the state championship game so we had some more good luck, but it just didn't work out for us. So I'm definitely just back out for blood. I want that season back. I want to be back in that position and have it go our way. And then state track, hopefully I can set some records this weekend, but even after that I want to go back the next year and break them some more. So I'll be a guy in June, so just doing by all means possible, just preparing myself for that moment.
You had expressed to me even before basketball season that, again, you want to go through your enjoy being a high school senior next year. But coming out of that weekend, when I was checking the phone, seeing if you guys had captured state and seeing that you came up, one game short, I thought there's absolutely no way he's enrolling early into college. I knew that was coming.
That's I was kind of joking with my teammates. I was like, this game could potentially decide what I do. And I'm like, no, they're joking with me. They're like, no way, you're coming back. And I'm like, you know what? I don't even know. At that point, I didn't really know. I was like, but yeah. And then, lost that game. And one of the first things I said when we went back to the locker room, I said, I'm going to be back. We're doing this again.
Very cool. Are there any additional schools that have been trying to get involved late? I mean, even as late as we speak, are there still any knocking on the door as of today, or have you pretty much wiped the slate clean and just said, these are the 4, don't even bother?
Yeah, I've tried to, wipe it clean, but I have had some coaches. I had a coach visit the school a couple days ago, which was a great conversation. It's really just to get to know each other, which was, I enjoyed his time. But yeah, just the relationships that I've developed with some coaches, they go past football. I just really click with some guys. So some of them, it's not even about recruiting or anything like that. We just have normal conversations, normal relationships. I've really enjoyed it. But as of now, it really is just those top 4 that I put out, and then maybe some other schools kind of still in a little bit of contact.
Well, as we lead in, I want to give a chance again for you to discuss the ins and outs of all the 4 finalists, so that the fans tuning in from each of those schools get a little bit of chance of hearing what you like and hearing what you're kind of looking forward to on these official visits. Because obviously they put in perspective each school, unlike, you've seen or heard yet. So let's start with Kansas. That'll be next weekend. And obviously there's the big news with Kansas is obviously they were the last one to get the official visit. But also, and I'm curious to see how much of a part your brother Leighton joining their roster had to do with that, or if it was not just your brother and maybe it was just something deeper within you that said, I do want to give them, another shot here with an OV.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of it was, my brother. We've been competing our whole lives. Why not, play together for once? But I wouldn't say a lot of it was that. I do really believe in Kansas football. A lot of people don't want to believe it, but just being there, and you really get a feel for their program it's aligned. It's there's not much wrong with it at all. You got the right guys, the right coaching staff. I have amazing relationships with everybody there. I mean, it is really a legit program, and it is still on the rise too. So I'm excited for them.
Was one of the things maybe with KU, in terms of, if you want to say from an outsider's point of view, why maybe they faded and then came back here at the end, how much of that had to do with you having to kind of get to know this new staff again? Because I think for folks that have been out of the loop, Andy Kotelnicki, that went to Penn State, the former offensive coordinator for the Jayhawks, was kind of, it seems like, your recruiting lead. And then he leaves, and you kind of had to start over a little bit with them, didn't you?
Yeah, definitely. But with Coach Grimes, we clicked immediately. I mean, he he's a dad. He has a couple boys, he has some kids, so he definitely just clicked with me. He's a great guy all out, amazing coach, but I wouldn't even talk about, how good of a coach he is. He's an even better person. So I really like that about him, is how I can click with him. And, we have normal conversations. Like after that state championship loss, he was one of the guys that I kind of just had a normal conversation with, just how I felt about it. I kind of told him, I'm good, I'll figure it out. And he said, I know you're not good. I know how you're really feeling. So, I mean, that meant a lot to me, that I can just have an actual, really, really good conversation with him with just about anything. And with him, it isn't really all about football. It is just really just him as a person.
Do you have any idea yet how involved Leighton will be on that official visit when you're in Lawrence?
I think he'll be pretty involved. I think he'll be doing all he can to get me with him. But I don't know what all he's got planned. But hopefully he tries to stay out of it too much, because he'd probably be one of the guys that convince me. But we'll have to see.
He is there on campus though.
He's here right now.
Okay.
So a part of why that OV worked out so well is because we'll probably move him up that weekend as well. So he'll kind of go through the whole OV process with us too. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Very cool. And so again, just for clarification, you guys have actually never played together? It's just with your ages, it's never lined up?
Yeah. So I was in 8th grade when he was a senior. So he graduated, and then I had my freshman year. So never got to play together. Even as kids, we always were on separate teams. We always made sure we were on separate teams, and it's always been really competitive. So, a lot of the time I'll joke with them. I'm like, we could play together, or we could just make it a Sunflower Showdown. Keep it going. But it's definitely been a lot of fun.
So with Kansas, heard a lot of great things about your relationship with their staff. You really like the direction, obviously, that Coach Leipold has the program going. You're familiar with a lot of the elements. I mean, you've been down there several times. What is it with KU that you're kind of, again, that one thing that you're still kind of looking to see or hear from them during this official visit? Is there anything in particular?
For me, I think I have all the information I need. I've even had like a 4-year plan written out for me, stuff like that. I have a whole idea of what it would look like for me. But I really just want to go down there and get, that feeling, the one that would just kind of make me make that decision, is kind of what I'm waiting on. And that's kind of for what a lot of the school. I mean, I definitely have had that feeling for some of those schools, but schools like KU, I think that's what I'm gonna go down and really see if I really have that feeling, if it's really right, because if I know it's right, it's going to be right.
We'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors. Welcome back to the show. Let's head back to the studio.
So then you'll leave Lawrence, Lincoln. You'll have some time to kind of decompress, think about that trip a little bit. And then it's 1 week later, you are back to College Station, a place that you've been. It feels like you've been there kind of several times, most recently. And I know Coach Klein and Coach Ellsworth were up to see you at, I believe, regional track just a week or two ago. So obviously some real deep connections with Coach Klein. But what else do you like about the Aggies and that program and everything that you've heard from them so far?
It's also a program that I have amazing relationships with the coaching staff, and they definitely headed in the right direction. I absolutely love Coach Elko, Coach Klein, Coach Ellsworth, Coach Doherty. We have amazing relationships with them. I've been there twice, and then they visited me a lot of times. Yeah, so it's they weren't even a school in question until Klein got down there. He immediately started recruiting me, and our relationship is it's absolutely amazing. It's normal conversations. It's just amazing relationships. So yeah, it's another one of those programs where I love everything about it. I definitely have an amazing feeling there. So yeah, just getting down there and getting to be around some other recruits. Like I know Hassan Longstreet, he's going to be there while I'm there, so that'll be really good to talk with him a little bit, and just hopefully get that feeling I'm waiting on.
With Coach Klein, I mean, to back up, you had mentioned kind of having that feeling with other schools about maybe pulling the trigger once or twice before, and you've kind of had to take a step back. I remember you telling me in the winter how close you really were, like December or January, to pulling the trigger for K-State largely because of Coach Klein. And then when he went to A&M, you kind of had to obviously take a step back, and that brought A&M into the picture. So it's interesting how coaching changes can really have monumental effects on recruits, as they should.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially with Coach Klein. As I said, our relationship's awesome. So yeah, that morning I woke up because I was doing some studying for a test I had that day, and I look at Twitter and I see something like Coach Klein's leaving, and I'm like, I think those are just rumors. So I put the phone down, didn't worry about it, and then my mom texted me. I was like, oh man, I kind of just messed up my whole process. So yeah, I just kind of had to start over from there. But yeah, he wasn't the complete reason at K-State. He was a huge reason, just because I went over a lot of the film. I knew exactly how he'd use me, so I just knew I had all the information I needed. Had a great feeling, but yeah, I definitely had to restart right there.
Now with Coach Ellsworth, he's a guy that has some K-State ties, so he's a guy that I'm familiar with from his time spent at K-State, and he's been at South Carolina and some other places. But I'm curious to know with him, when you look at some of the other positional coaches that are kind of in these finalists, he's sort of the young gun of the group, right? The guy that's a little bit more greener than even Coach LePack and Coach Grimes and Coach Maringer. What have you learned a little bit about Coach Ellsworth, and what would you say to folks that are maybe thinking that might be a downfall of Texas A&M, the fact that he's a little bit greener around the edges?
No, Coach Ellsworth he's absolutely the perfect choice. If it makes it any better, Coach Klein was the first one Coach Klein reached out to, because he knew Coach Ellsworth can get the job done, and he can get the job done really well. So I have complete trust in Coach Ellsworth. We also have an amazing relationship. It is great that he's young, because we probably click a lot better. But he is an amazing person.
And so again, like I asked with KU, and maybe it's the same answer, but I'm going to go through each of them just in case it's a little bit different. But with Texas A&M, it sounds like obviously the relationship's super deep. You'll know exactly how Coach Klein will use you. Again, a place like, as all of these places that you're familiar with, you've been there before, but is there anything in particular you're kind of looking to gain on this one beyond just a feeling? Is there anything you haven't seen maybe on campus or heard about?
Yeah, definitely probably going to go deeper into the school. Probably going to do that with KU also. I probably forgot to mention that. But yeah, we're going to go deeper into the school a lot more. But yeah, otherwise just kind of that feeling. I've seen a lot, probably just being around the guys more, being even more comfortable, because I have been there 2 times. So yeah, this 3rd time it should, yeah, I guess I wouldn't say it has to be a pretty big visit for me, but it'll be fun. We'll have to see.
Absolutely. From there, again, another week to decompress. You balanced everything out very nicely here, and then you're straight into Oregon. Again, a place that you're very familiar with. That you've been up there several times, and we'll get into the relationship a little bit. But for fans that aren't aware yet, it's been publicized many times by now. But I don't want to call you a lifelong Duck fan, but I mean, you started out as a young guy with kind of being fond of the uniforms and everything else. And you told me a story. I remember when I was down to see you at that Nickerson game in the fall about, here's your family for the 2012 Tostitos Fiesta Bowl gathered around the TV in their purple garb. And there's young Linkon Cure cheering on DeAnthony Thomas, because they were kind of the it team. They were the fun team to play on EA college football back in the day, right?
Oh yeah. I was the only person in the house with the green shirt on. It was like, I gotta think, maybe it was a Christmas present. I'm not sure, but yeah, my mom gave me that Oregon Ducks football T-shirt. I think I still have it probably around here somewhere. But yeah, I wore that shirt, and nobody was really a big fan of me in the house, but I was the one that won that day, because Oregon came out on top. But yeah, if I walked the phone into my old room as a kid, I have I gotta remember what they're called. They're those big stickers on the wall. They're just a bunch of Oregon helmets. I have 2 Oregon helmets, because I just asked for those for Christmas. I was a huge fan. I mean, I do have a lot of K-State stuff too. Like, I have a K-State helmet as well. So I mean, won't put it all to the Ducks. We got like a lot of random. Me and me and Layton were a little bit of bandwagons. Like he has a Notre Dame and a TCU helmet because he liked to watch Trevon Boykin, and then I have Oregon helmet, I have an Oklahoma helmet, K-State helmet. We're kind of all over the place. But yeah, I was definitely a fan when I was younger. It was and that carried on probably till about gotta remember that coach's name. I don't know. He's the new OC for Ohio State. I don't know.
Chip Kelly. Yeah.
Right when he left is kind of when I stopped being a fan, because then I started watching Baker Mayfield a little bit, and that's kind of when I made that transition, because he was a lot of fun to watch. So yeah.
Hey, we've all been there. I mean, this predates you certainly, but I mean, I can remember back in elementary school with a starter jacket and one of those old plastic like fake lockers that was all New England Patriots in the Drew Bledsoe days. So yeah, Curtis Martin, Drew Bledsoe, we're going way back, but hopped off that bandwagon as well. But again, though, Linkon, it had to be surreal though for you in a similar way to getting offered by K-State and kind of being there at camp and being, on the field and everything. It had to be surreal for you too, the first time you got up to Eugene and thought, man, that school that I used to have, fat heads on the wall of, I'm literally on their campus and they want me to come here. Yeah,
it was honestly crazy for me. I mean, from the moment I stepped foot on campus, I couldn't believe it. It's still an absolute dream come true. Even when I show up there, I still I kind of think about it, I'll kind of get lost in my thoughts and be like, I literally dreamed of this, growing up. I played with their helmets on, all of that. So it definitely is really, really crazy to think about. But yeah, I really appreciate everything, and hopefully we can make the dream come true but yeah, we'll just have to see.
Oh, I'm curious, one of the big topics, kind of hot topics around fan bases, and even here in the recruiting industry among us experts is, what is it? Is it a pro or is it a con or somewhere in between in terms of a guy from Goodland, Kansas gelling and meshing and having the transition to Eugene, Oregon? Kind of shed some light on that for us, because obviously you've been up there. Is it as steep of a transition as maybe people think it is, or have you, I guess, in a way, seen that there's a possibility for you to acclimate easily up there?
Yeah, that was definitely a thought for me, was the distance. I'm not sure I'd be comfortable up there. But after a couple of visits, I've been around Eugene. It is an amazing place. I think I'd be more than comfortable there. Even some of the part about college is just being a little uncomfortable. And, it's good for you. If this, football keeps going great for me and it leads to the NFL, I'm going to be uncomfortable wherever I go, because it's going to be a new city anywhere. So, it definitely, training myself by going, 20 some hours to Eugene, it would be different for me, but it'd be really good for me. So, yeah, definitely that was kind of what scared me, was the distance. But after some visits, I don't think distance is going to matter much at all to me.
Absolutely. And I know one of the things that has to help in Oregon's favor is the fact that, even though there's some folks up there that are maybe a little culturally different than you, one guy that is not is Dan Lanning, because, Kansas City roots, a Midwestern guy. And it sounds like every time we've talked, a guy that you've really, really grown close with, and a guy that can be both kind of coach, but also, I don't know, just kind of a fun guy, right? A guy that you enjoy speaking with.
Oh yeah, I definitely enjoy being around Coach Lanning. He is an amazing person. That whole coaching staff that he's put together is just absolutely amazing. Every single one of them, Coach Maringer, Coach Stein, everything about that program is just amazing, especially with the coaches. I'm definitely really, really comfortable around them.
Okay, so again, as I'm continuing the theme, what is it in Eugene? What is it at Oregon that, again, I mean, obviously the feeling will be big, but is there anything else that you're like, man, I just haven't seen that the other times that I've been up, or I haven't heard this, or we haven't had a chance to sit down and really get to the nitty gritty of X or Y or Z? Well, what is it with Oregon that you're really excited about for that, what is it, June 14th trip?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if there's a lot more I can learn. I've gone over hours and hours of film with Coach Maringer, which has been absolutely awesome. But yeah, just probably same with the others. We'll probably go deeper into the school. I went for a game day visit and then the spring game visit, so we weren't really able to fit a lot into those days. We tried to, but we couldn't really get into the business school that day. So I bet we're going to go a lot more into that. But I'm just excited what they'll do.
All right. Last but not least, the end of June, you wrap it all up, come back a little bit closer to home, Manhattan, Kansas, the Little Apple. Obviously me covering K-State, most of my following is Kansas State. And so when you tweet out something about Linkon Cure, all I see is a lot of purple. And I would imagine it's kind of the same for you. It's been this way from the start, right? Even in your hometown, they have been kind of the team that you've heard the most about in terms of fan support and people pushing you there, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, for sure. I feel like anything I put out, whatever it is, it doesn't even have to be about K-State. There's always going to be some purple in the comments, which I love. They always have something funny to say too, which I'm always laughing at. But I definitely enjoy those K-State fans a lot.
Do you feel like, if you put yourself in Coach Kleiman's shoes, I'm curious your thoughts on this. Do you feel like it's been maybe harder for them the longer that you've taken your recruiting process out, because they're the most familiar to you, right? And so, we talked about with Oregon, like, well, I've kind of seen all and heard everything I need to. With K-State, they've kind of had to keep finding something new, right? For months. How do you feel like the coaches have done there? And again, do you feel like that's maybe been an obstacle for them to continue to try and keep you compelled and interested in a program that you've grown up around?
I'm honestly not sure if it is challenging for them or not. I probably need to ask Taylor how that is. I know they probably do have to come up with something new every time I'm there, but yeah, they've definitely been patient with me as well as I've been patient with them. It's been a great process. I do feel like every time I go there is something new that I'm seeing, which is a lot of fun. It's always fun to be around Taylor and that coaching staff. I have great relationships with them. So it's been a lot of fun.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and this is no disrespect to Brian LePack, and the job that he's done on you has been very active, but it seems like K-State has taken a very universal approach in terms of their staff. Matt Wells has been involved with you. I mean, I've seen other coaches that are retweeting stuff. It just seems like for the most part, it's been a collective effort from Kansas State. Do you feel like that's the case?
Very, very collective. I talked to almost every one of their offensive coaches. I'll talk to Coach Riley a lot, Coach Wells, Coach LePack. I'll have occasional calls with Coach Kleiman, Taylor Bray. It's been awesome talking to all of them. It's always a new conversation too. I absolutely love every one of those phone calls. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I do think Coach LePack, he's the one that's been very directly involved. I'll have calls with him more than anybody else. But yeah, it is more of a collective thing from all of them.
Well, let's talk about Coach LePack real quick then, because I've asked about Coach Wells before. We know about Taylor Bratt. Heard you speak at length about Coach Kleiman as well, but give us some insight on your relationship with Coach LePack and kind of how he views you and their system.
Yeah, so I've also gone over a lot of film with Coach LePack, probably more than anybody else. Just how many times I've been up there, we've always made sure to go over film. That's always a lot of fun. We kind of joke about it. I could probably break down the play before he even presses the play button. I've seen it so much, but it's always fun to watch. But it's different for me. Coach LePack, he will show Ben Sinnot's film, which is a lot kind of how they'd use me. But, even with talking with Coach Wells and Coach LePack, they're not even completely sure. They'll just kind of have to see, how they'd use me when I'm there. But yeah, I'm not even completely sure. I'm not sure if they're completely sure. Maybe they are. Maybe we just need to have that conversation. But I'm pretty confident in what they can do with me. But yeah, Coach LePack, absolutely an amazing person. He's really, really smart, which I think a lot of people don't know. Like he kind of makes me feel dumb sometimes just talking to him. Like that's how smart he is. But, that's always good to have in a coach, which he knows everything about the position. It's good to have.
He's a law guy, so, I mean, he's got a thorough knowledge upstairs, right? You brought up an interesting point that I should have asked too about the others, but you mentioned it a little bit there with K-State, but how much of it with each school it is defined, and how much of it is we'll see when you get up here in terms of like how much you'll be in line and hand in the ground, or maybe there's a school that's like, we don't want any of that. We want you split out wide. And have you gotten is each school kind of uncertain, or are there some schools that are like, oh, we're going to beef you up, you'll be a little bit more blocking, but we'll use you this way? Or are there some schools that are, hey, you're kind of a jumbo receiver?
Yeah, so it's definitely been a little bit of everything. I think some schools are a little uncertain. I think some schools know. Some schools maybe don't even know. I'm not even completely sure. But yeah, I've definitely had those conversations. Most schools, majority is, I'd kind of be that jumbo wide receiver from the beginning. True freshman season if I get myself there. But yeah, it's kind of just a process to become a true tight end.
Sure.
Well, most of it's been, which I can definitely see that for myself. Like KU kind of had a written out plan, which was really good to see, like maybe gain 10 pounds from this year to this year, and then we'll kind of use you this way, it was good to see. But yeah, I'm confident in how each school would use me.
Okay, last but not least with K-State, then again, the question that I keep coming back to is, you've been there so many times, you've heard it all, you've seen it all. Is there anything left for you to involve yourself with during that weekend that you would help K-State's cause, or give you an answer as to whether they're the team for you or not?
Yeah, for K-State, I think I have probably seen everything. I think we're probably going to go a lot deeper into it. But yeah, with K-State, I absolutely love being there. I love being around those guys. So for me, it's just going to be, I already have that feeling. I'm trying to, get a stronger feeling. But yeah, I'm really confident in K-State.
And last thing I should, and no disrespect to the other schools involved, but I do want to ask a little bit about what kind of relationship you have. I know you've developed a little bit with Dylan Duff, their 2025 commit, but to this point, has there been any kind of relationship building between you and Avery Johnson, a guy that by the time you get there would still have multiple years in the tank?
Yeah. Me and Avery, we talk occasionally. We joke around a little bit. I think it was, oh gosh, I can't remember what we were joking about the other day, but I don't know. There was something about his spring break trip or something, or not spring break, but I guess, yeah, spring break. I guess still is spring. Well, maybe summer. I'm not sure, but they're kind of on vacation. So
yeah.
But then, yeah, even with Dylan Edwards, pretty soon after he committed, it was when I was at Texas A&M. I was, still in bed. Kind of woke up that morning. I was getting a call, a FaceTime from a random number. They FaceTimed me, I think earlier that week. I just wasn't sure who it was, so I didn't pick up. I kind of texted like, who is this? And I answered the call, and it was Dylan Edwards. So I was just kind of surprised, just kind of laughing about it. But yeah, I got a great relationship with him too. But yeah, it's been a really fun process.
Okay, so back up a second. So Dylan Edwards just cold FaceTime calls you while you're at Texas A&M. What kind of things was he saying? Obviously the push to come to K-State, but what other kind of things have you heard from him in that call, and maybe in calls since then?
Yeah, so I guess majority of it was he was just kind of telling me how K-State they're gonna take care of me. This is kind of where you belong. He never really brought up anything about his past with his how it went for him, anything like that. We didn't talk for a very long time just because we didn't have a lot of time. But yeah, it was a good conversation. He was just kind of telling me about his recent visit that he had at K-State and kind of why he made that switch. But yeah, he absolutely, he's totally confident in that staff. He's confident with his decision. So I'm excited to see how he does.
Very cool little insight there about K-State's new tailback. Okay, so from there it'll be kind of decision time. And again, you've mentioned it already in this interview that it could be very soon after that last visit. It could trickle down. You don't have a set kind of timestamp on anything, but I am curious though, Linkon, when that time comes to, whether it's sit down, whether it's kind of get everybody in a room, who's in that room? Whose advice are you seeking? And kind of what things are going to be on the quote checklist in terms of, does this school have it and does it not?
Parents will definitely be in the room. I think that's what it'll be, but even after that, I think it's just gonna, come down to my mind, what I think. I know my values. I know what I'm looking for. I've explained, academics, culture, just that feeling. I want to have a legacy. I want to have an impact. So I know what I'm looking for. But yeah, for me, it's got to be that feeling. I'm gonna follow my heart. I'm gonna know it's right, and when I make that decision, I'm gonna stick there. I'm not gonna be a guy that's not confident in it, and kind of transfer somewhere else, anything like that. Like when I make a decision, I'm confident in my decision. I'm sticking with it.
And I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway, just because it is recruiting right now. In terms of, again, kind of a priority order and on your checklist, where does NIL fall?
I wouldn't say that matters to me at all. That's never really been anything I've ever cared about, because for me, I wasn't even really a big fan of the NIL deal. I never really liked guys playing for money until the NFL. But I don't think much of it matters to me. I know my values. For me, it's more about having a legacy and an impact on people more than anything. I know the money will come, so I'm not worried about that. Obviously, it helps with some things, but it's not a worry of mine.
And then how soon after you make a commitment to your school of choice, do you will you take a break? Will you take a needed breather, or do you go right into putting on the recruiting hat and firing out some text messages?
I think I'll probably take a day, just a day. But yeah, I'll probably get right back into it.
Good deal. Well, let's finish on a fun note then. As we record this, when fans are listening to it here tomorrow, you will be headed for Wichita and the Kansas High School State Track and Field Championships. Again, for folks that are a little unaware, a champion in an event last year, runner-up in an event last year, and a third event that you again, you talk about kind of out for blood, another one of those that you want to strike some revenge in. Give fans a little bit about what they can expect from you and how excited you are about track and field state championships this weekend.
Yeah, super excited. I feel like I'm very well prepared. I mean, I'm dealing with a little bit of sickness right now, if you can't tell, probably in my voice, but taking care of that. But yeah, I'll have prelims on Friday with the starting off with the 110 hurdles, and then the 300 hurdles, and then 200 meter. I'm ranked number 1 in the 110s. I believe I'm number 2 in the 300s right now. I think somebody ran a really fast time at regionals. And then in the 200, I'm not sure where I'm ranked. But I definitely have a lot of confidence in myself. I believe I can go 3 for 3 if I perform to my highest level, which is just the biggest priority for me, is just perform how I should. Maybe not even as I should, but how I know I can do. I know I can always go faster. I can always do better. There's always something I can improve on. So I'm definitely excited. The goal for me is to go 3 for 3 and bring 3 state championships home. But even after that, I'll be back for more.
Well, I'll finish with this, and I think it's an interesting kind of insight into who you are as a person. Pressure. I mean, it's something you just said. You're very confident. You're going down there with an expectation to win, right? Where do you feel like that comes from for you? The ability to just not feel pressure at all, and set your goals higher than everybody else. Where does that come from? Having a big family and being kind of on the younger end and always kind of scratching and clawing to be the best. Where does kind of that knack for the big moment come from for you?
Yeah, I think definitely everything I've ever been through in my life definitely plays into it a little bit. But for me, I've kind of always had that mentality. I want to be the best. I want to work to be the best. I work myself to exhaustion every chance I get. It's something I want. And I can't say the pressure doesn't affect me, because it definitely does sometimes. Sometimes it gets to me, but just preparing myself by all means possible to be ready for that moment. I train myself mentally more than anything else. I think I'm ready, and I think I can get it done. So it's been a lot of fun, a lot of pressure, but I deal with it pretty good.
Well, safe travels to you. Rest up. A lot of liquids, obviously, which we've seen. And again, yeah, best of luck to you. this coming weekend, and also in the weekends ahead. You didn't have to give us 46 minutes of your time, but you did, and I greatly appreciate you being open throughout this recruiting process. And again, like everybody else, very excited personally to just see where things end up and continue to track you moving into the future. So thank you so much for your time, Linkon.
Yes, sir. Thank you for everything.
This has been a GoPowercat.com and Spirit Street production. Please support this show by subscribing to this YouTube channel or follow us on your favorite podcast platform.